Hi everyone. So I I've been getting a lot of questions recently. I'm at the shop. If you haven't noticed the background change, at the end of the day, and I just had somebody leave, and she was interested in one of the kittens that I have here for adoption. Um, and of course, people come here and they ask, what's the adoption fee, blah blah blah. And I always stress to people that although the adoption fee is really, really low, it's pretty much just trying to offset the cost of having them here. But I stress to people that we strongly encourage everybody to have their kittens spayed or neutered once they're old enough. And I've been kind of touring around YouTube and trying to post something on my Facebook page specifically about spaying and neutering and what, like, the clean cut, what you want to be looking for, and nobody seems to have a very straightforward, this is why you should, this is what people say that's total bogus. So I'm just going to cut to the chase and boil everything down for you so you don't get this mishmash information of, well, this could happen and that could happen and maybe in this circumstance, blah, blah, blah. So, first thing I'm going to say is that I encourage everybody to spay and neuter the dogs and cats. Regardless of the breed, regardless of their temperament, their job, where you live, what you do for a living, I suggest that you get your dog spayed or neutered. Aside from the obvious, if your dog is spayed, they can't reproduce, there's a whole bunch more on top of that just for the spay, for females. Now, I know a lot of people say, oh, well, my cat's a male, or my dog's a male, so I shouldn't have to get my dog neutered. Firstly, no. If you think that because you have a male dog, your dog should just be able to wander and do whatever it wants, because it's a male and you don't have to worry about puppies coming home, that is a very foolish way of thinking. Aside from the fact that you should be a responsible pet owner and make sure your dog stays in your yard, there are so many things that can come around from your dog being intact that a lot of people tend to overlook, and then problems happen in the future and they are standing with trying to hold the bucket while things are just spewing over. So I'm going to start with females and male. So obviously the first reason you're going to want to spay your female cat, dog, whatever, is because if your cat or dog or pet is spayed, it can't have puppies, kittens, whatever. And it's not just the fact that your cat or dog, we'll say dog for this case, but I do mean all animals. Mammals, please don't try to spay your bird. There's just beyond the fact that, after 8 weeks you're going to have to deal with 5, 10, hopefully not 15 puppies that you're going to have to find homes for. And it's not just that. Most people can come up with, okay, my dog has, let's say in the normal case, 5 puppies. That means I have to find a home for 5 puppies, I have to feed 5 puppies, and I have to make sure that my female dog is getting enough nutrients to feed 5 puppies. But it certainly goes beyond that. If your dog has puppies and dies, are you going to be able to sacrifice the next 4 weeks getting up every 2 hours to bottle feed them? Because that's the reality. If your dog, especially small dogs, although for anybody who knows me and who has seen my Facebook page and possibly one of my other videos, I bottle fed 6 puppies. 6 puppies. I'm trying to get this. There we go. 6 Great Pyrenees puppies. The end of 2011, start of 2012, because the mother had died, and she was, we believe, Lab, and the puppies were Great Pyrenees. The father was a Great Pyrenees. So they were big dogs. She had 11 puppies, and she did not make it. So 6 of the puppies survived, and those were the 6 that I got. So regardless of size, more often in smaller dogs, are you willing to take that kind of time to bottle feed puppies? Because that's essentially what you're going to have to do, or you're going to have them euthanized. If you do decide to bottle feed them, not only is it incredibly time consuming, I've been there, it is really expensive. Puppy formula, even if you make your own puppy formula with goat's milk, is very expensive. Not only is goat's milk expensive and hard to find, but you can't You can't buy gallons and gallons of goat's milk and be good for 4 weeks. Like, milk does not stay good that long. So you've got to be, having a pretty frequent supply of this. Plus, you're going to have to buy bottles, and you're going to have to buy, um, you know, baby toys and hot water bottles, and make sure that you've got a playpen where they can't get anywhere. And let's not even go for the laundry. um, Baby animals can't eliminate themselves, so that means that you have to do it. And yes, it is disgusting and as messy as it sounds. So there's that. If your dog, if you're not even planning on having your dog have puppies, but you're deciding not to spay your dog, there are very real and very risky complications that go with that. Pyometras can be fatal if you do not bring your dog in to have emergency surgery. So if your way of thinking is, I don't want to have my dog spayed and we're going to hope for the best, it's going to cost you 3 times as much when your dog has to have an emergency spay, plus the antibiotics, plus the cost of going to your clinic after hours. You're not going to save money if your dog has a pyo. There's also an increased risk of cancer with any unaltered dog. Uterine cancer, mammalian cancer, testicular cancer, it happens in dogs, and it is very scary and very, very expensive, and could essentially cost your dog its life. I know a lot of people are kind of taken aback when you say that, but my Basset Hound actually had doggy breast cancer. The reason why we didn't have her spayed was because she has very severe heart condition. She actually has 2 heart murmurs and an enlarged heart. So we were a little bit on the riskier side to getting the dog spayed. When she actually did develop cancer, we decided that it was in her best interest to risk the surgery. We had all of her testing done, which cost me an arm and a leg. We had her neutered at the same time as this tumor was removed. So there's so much more that happens just besides, oh, my dog is not spayed. You also, and this is a very real thing. There's a lot of kind of other things that happen, that people say happens when you spay or neuter your pet, it's a total non-issue. It's usually training and not anything else, really. Sorry, my kittens are doing something. There's a camera right there. So totally lost my train of thought there. It's really bad. So besides, the obvious things, and the things that people, oh, well, this happens, a lot of them don't. One of the biggest ones is that your female dog will wander. They will try to find a male if they can. If they can get out of your fence, they will get out of your fence. If they can't jump over it, they will dig under it. And as far as, I'll just throw the dog in the backyard and go pee really quick, ain't gonna happen, because if you do not watch your dog, she is a very real chance of her getting pregnant. You need to be very vigilant. We had Daisy for 4 years before we had her spayed, and we were very, very lucky that we have there's a lot of people in my house, and when I went to college, we had a good system with the neighbors and whatnot. So if I went outside, I would bring my neighbor's dog with me, and vice versa. So she was never outside by herself, and we were very lucky she never got pregnant. But if you don't have that luxury of you think that you can just tie your dog outside while you go to work and come home and the dog won't be pregnant, you've got another thing coming. So dogs will wander, especially males. If they can smell a dog in heat, and trust me, even if there's not even a dog in like a 10-mile radius, I swear they will find them. Your dog will wander to find one. Unneutered males, you tend to not have as many health issues that go along with that. Testicular cancer is usually the biggest one that you see, but you will do with a lot of wandering, which in male dogs can be, like I said, quite the radius. And if you live out in the bush, or if you live in town, you've got to deal with, in my case at least, bears. We've got wolves here. We've got very big trucks, moving vehicles. We've got household hazards like antifreeze in the winter, and like there's just so much stuff your dog can get into trying to get to a female dog. It is absolutely astronomical. Um, so those, I guess, are the reasons why you're going to want to definitely consider spaying or neutering your pet. As far as some of these myths that go, there's a lot that kind of I really think before they start disputing them out. Firstly, your dog is not going to get fat because you spayed or neutered it. Your dog is going to get fat because you didn't take the dog out for a walk, or the dog is not being fed properly and is going to eat more. I know my biggest pet peeve, people say it all the time to me, and thankfully people are very responsive. Um, Before you spay or neuter your pet, there's a very internal instinct going on that says a lighter dog can move around more. Because essentially, the goal of your unaltered dog is to make as many babies as possible. And you cannot run around for 3 days if you are overweight. So your male dogs and your female dogs have a very, very high metabolism because their body says, you need to be fit because you need to be able to make as many babies as possible. So once you have your dog spayed or neutered, the hormones aren't there anymore, so your metabolism is going to say, whoa, slow down. We don't have to do this anymore. So what happens is your dog doesn't actually eat more, or it might eat more, but the calories go further. So in actuality, it's not because your dog was spayed or neutered that they get fat. It's because you are feeding them too much. And for everybody out there who says, oh, I can't portion control my dog, it's too much work, trust me, being up for 4 weeks every 2 hours around the clock is a heck of a lot more work than portion feeding your dog. Another thing, too, I hear a lot of, especially with hunters, is that if I spay or neuter my dog, they won't hunt as well. That is bogus. This is not connected to your reproductive system at all. Your dog's nose is not going to magically shut down because they're spayed or neutered. Actually, they're going to be, if anything, more responsive because they're not going to be thinking in the back of their head, oh, I can smell a male over there, and he smells like he's got his man bits, so I should go over there and make puppies. Because that's what's going to be going through your dog's head. If you've got a male dog and he's neutered and you're out in the field and a female comes into the field with your friend and she's in heat and your dog's attacked, that's all he's going to be thinking about. So really, for hunters, it would make more sense to have your dog spayed or neutered because that way there's not that other distraction. Now I know lots of dogs who go out, I go hunting, and I know lots of dogs that come out with us that are intact and they're excellent hunters. But it's not a make or break thing. My dog is spayed and she hunts just as well today as she did 5 years ago, 6 years ago when we got her. So as far as, oh, they're not going to perform as well, total bogus. Another thing that I hear a lot of is that males, it seems to be men more than women, but male dogs, if I neuter my male dog, he's going to hate me forever. No, he's not going to hate you forever. He's not going to understand consciously what's going on. All he knows is that he went to the vet clinic, they gassed him up, and he came out and his butt hurt, and that's it. That's all that happened. And as weird as this sounds, when people come up to me and say, you know, my husband's really against having our dog neutered, I suggest to them, a lot of the time, it's a look thing. And I know men are visual creatures. They're going to want to make their male dogs look like male dogs. So if that is your biggest concern, if you want your boy dog to look like a boy dog, I strongly suggest having your dog neutered and having implants put in. You don't even know the difference. The dog doesn't even know the difference. All he knows is that something happened down there and okay, there's something different, but they're still there, so it's shooting without bullets, but the gun's still there, kind of thing. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but a lot of the time, it's a visual thing that gets people, especially men, who it turns them off, because they're like, oh my god, he's not going to be a boy anymore. Yes, he's still going to be a boy. No, he's not going to hate you. Um, if that is your concern, then take your dog out for a walk before you go, and take your dog out for a walk when he comes home, and he'll be your best buddy. Um, a lot of the other myths are pretty breakable. People seem to think that my dog's gonna hate me. My dog's not gonna want to go out for walks. He's gonna get fat. Um, they're not gonna be tolerant of children anymore. They're not gonna want to go out hunting with me. They're not gonna be they're not gonna be good at hunting anymore. My dog's not going to be a good insert working dog here. Your dog is going to guard your property just as well as he did today as he did the other day. It's still, if you, like I said, it comes a lot down to training. It's not a case of whether or not your dog is spayed or neutered. It comes down to training. If you've trained your dog to guard your property, then regardless of whether or not he is intact or not, he should guard your property. Prime example is my Saint Bernard. She is very protective of me, and she's very protective of my mother. And both of us have um, the same hip dysplasia, uh, and I think she's very sensitive to that, because if I'm home by myself or my mom's home by herself, nobody can come into the yard without her knowing. She's just barks, but very vocal, very observant. If my mom's boyfriend's home by himself, she doesn't say peep. Same thing if my brother takes her out for a walk, she's an angel. If I take her out for a walk and another dog comes up to me, the red flags go on. And she has been spayed since she was 6 months old. So there's no real concern. There shouldn't be a red flag about having your dog spayed and, oh, it's not going to do its job, because, like I said, it comes down to training, not anything else. So I think my biggest thing that I'm trying to get to is, if you have a dog who is not being used for show and is not being used to enhance, shouldn't say enhance, is not being used for the betterment of a breed to improve, not enhance, I'm going to say improve, a particular breed, or to try and make more of a particular rare breed, because your dog is, registered and actually purebred and has papers, and not because you say I have a Shih Tzu and you have a Shih Tzu, I'd strongly suggest you get your dog spayed or neutered, because it's a lot of work, and there's a lot of other things that go into this. It's not just the fact of, oh, if my dog's spayed, she can't have puppies. It's much more than that. So please take into consideration what can go wrong. And I understand that a lot of people don't have money, and I'm not saying that you have to have your dog spayed at 6 months. Actually, as a dog owner, and a very well-read dog owner at that, I actually suggest that you wait, until your dog is a year and a half, maybe 2 if you have a large breed dog. So you have a lot of time to save up for this spay or neuter. So, don't think that just because you have a puppy, it needs to be spayed as soon as you can get them in. If that's your prerogative, then by all means, better sooner than never. But don't believe that because you don't have the money right now to do your dog at 6 months. That's okay. If you have to do its first set of vaccines this year and have the dog spayed next year, the point that I'm trying to make is that it's best to have your dog spayed or neutered, because you don't have to worry about all these secondary problems. And my goal, at least as a pet owner, is to live with my dogs as long as I can, because I do love my dogs, and I want them to be as healthy and around for as long as possible. And by spaying or neutering your dog, you are providing them with a healthier life, a better chance to live longer and not die from having a litter of puppies, or from a pyometra, or from having a puppy that was stuck on the way out and emergency surgery, or you don't have the money to pay for cancer removal on a dog, so you have to euthanize it. That's the biggest point for me. So if you have any questions, right down there. Otherwise, I am out for the night. And I hope you guys are all having a good time wherever you are. Give your puppy a hug. Kissing your dog is cool. And I hope you learned something.